Welcome to the Heal Yourself podcast, where we dive deep into all things healing. I'm Denise, a speech language pathologist and a self-love coach for adults and teens.
And I'm Kira, a traditional naturopath and functional nutritionist, and we are here to guide you through the transformative process of healing your body, mind, and soul.
From the latest in functional medicine to nurturing your relationship with yourself, healing trauma, and even transforming your money story, we're here to empower you with the knowledge and tools to create lasting change.
So whether you're looking to heal physically, emotionally, or spiritually, join us as we explore the many paths to wholeness and wellness. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I am excited because we have a special guest today, and it's not just me. Denise is here with us.
I made it! Yay!
So today we're talking to Melissa Armstrong, and she has faced a lifetime of trauma and abuse, struggling with mental health issues from a young age. At 18, she experienced the devastating accident and subsequent death of her brother, adding to her existing struggles with anxiety, PTSD, and depression. But despite her hardships, Melissa has shown incredible resilience and strength in overcoming her challenges, and now owns her own business as a trauma-informed functional health coach, helping other women overcome trauma to heal their mind, body, and spirit. So Melissa, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor.
Yeah, we're excited to talk to you because, I mean, this is what Denise and I preach all the time too. So I think this is super important for our listeners. I know we don't have all day to talk because we could easily do that. Will you give us a little bit about your background and how you even started recognizing that trauma was a factor in your health?
Yeah, so my story alone takes a lot of time to kind of go over. It's very complex. There was a lot of abuse and trauma when I was a child. My parents were addicted to drugs. My dad was really physically abusive. My mom was really emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, emotionally unavailable. And when they divorced when I was 6, that kind of just continued. And then there was a series of things that happened in my teenage years, or like adolescence, I guess. When I was 15, there was a school shooting at my high school. I was very close with the shooter. And then when I was 18, my brother was killed tragically right in front of me. So I share all of the details, like nitty-gritty details of all of that on, my Facebook page, my Instagram. I have my own podcast. You can go listen to the full story, but that's kind of the gist of it. So from the time my brother died when I was 18, and from the time that I was 18 to 24, I attempted suicide multiple times. I had severe, debilitating panic, anxiety, depression, all of the mental health stuff that came along with 18 years of trauma. And I started to, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I wasn't taking care of myself. Simultaneously, somehow I managed to get myself through nursing school. And when I was in my early 20s, started to develop a lot of physical symptoms because I had all this emotional baggage that I hadn't dealt with. So it started to manifest. The saying is, if you don't deal with your issues, it rests in your tissues. So that's exactly what was happening to me. I started to develop like digestive issues, skin issues, migraines, the insomnia, mental, physical, who knows? Like I didn't sleep like at all, really. So I was just kind of in that state of not being well in every sense of the word. And the panic really was one of the worst parts for me. And when I was 24, I had just graduated college, nursing school. I was a new grad nurse. I was working night shift, and dealing with still the fallout from my brother's death, and panic ruled my life. The PTSD really, I couldn't escape it. And would have quite frequent, like daily, panic attacks. And that's when my boyfriend at the time, now husband, suggested to me that he reflected back to me that I just was always stressed. He's like, you just never seem to calm down, like, ever. And I think if you could just manage to calm your mind a little bit, you would feel so much better. And maybe you should try meditation. And so, having never tried meditation myself, and he had no experience with it either, I just thought, like, what have I got to lose? And I looked it up online, found Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey used to, apparently they might still do it. Somebody's told me they used to do these 21-day free meditation challenges. And so there was one either just about to start or had just started, like, that day. It was just kind of serendipitous. I think it was I think it was God, just making sure that I had the tools that I needed in that moment. And I started meditating and really quickly realized that I could actually feel calm. I had never felt calm in my whole entire life. I was 24 years old. I didn't know what it meant to feel calm. And that was that was the beginning. That was where I realized, like, oh my gosh, I can actually feel calm. And, like, why do I feel calm? And then I started realizing that I could use the tools that I was learning while I was meditating. Like, I was Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey in those challenges, they would do mantras. And so, like, I stuck, there was So Hum was, like, one of my, for some reason, that was a mantra that just stuck with me. And it just made me feel so calm when I would be meditating, and I would be repeating this mantra, and then I would use it when I was not meditating, and actually feel a physical change in my body that would, like, calm me down. So I could do it while I was at work, or if I was going to the grocery store and felt anxious, or so from there, I just kind of, like, all of a sudden had this epiphany that was like, why is this working? What is meditation? What is somatic work? What is trauma? And how is it really impacting? In nursing school, they talk about, like, the whole person, holistic, but we really don't, in practical terms, like, really have the opportunity to treat the whole person. When you're working as a nurse in a hospital setting, like, you're trying to save somebody's life. You're not talking to them about their nutrition and their stress. Like, but even in an outpatient setting, it's not, the system's not designed to really support that. So I started researching a bunch of stuff and neuroplasticity and all of that, just consuming a lot. And yeah, kind of the rest is history. That was the beginning.
Wow, I love that. And I did learn issues in your tissues. That was about a few months ago. Someone said it in one of my workshops. She's like, the issues are in your tissues. I was like, oh, I love that. And Kira and Kira, didn't we do the Deepak Chopra 21-day thing one
Oh
time?
yeah, we've done that one in the past. It's a classic.
I love that. So Melissa, since you've been through so much and you've learned a lot, what are some tangible tips or some action steps that you recommend for someone maybe starting out or listening to this, like, oh my goodness, that's me? Where can they start?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love this question because so many people tell me all the time, well, I don't know how to meditate, or I don't know what somatic work is, and I don't know how to, get there. And it's really the first step to healing is awareness. And I feel like, when we were talking prior to the podcast, like, we were talking about how so many women, especially, and particularly mothers, but all women, I think, just in our culture, we are in an age where we are just constantly on the go. We are always moving. There is always sensory input. There's stimulation from, noise and sound and movement and social media and, all these different things. And we're balancing so much that we spend our entire lives, most of the time, in our head. We never, like, drop into our body and ask ourselves, like, how are we feeling physically? So my recommendation to people, like very first step, asking yourself, how am I feeling? And that's the the simplest way to do that is something called a body scan. So you literally just take a couple seconds. If you notice the first step, the key is to notice. I feel anxious, or I feel not good in anything that's negative, not serving you. You don't want to feel that way anymore. Stop and take a deep breath and ask yourself how and where you're feeling that in your body. Scan your body from top to bottom, head to toe, toe to head, and just ask yourself, where am I feeling that? And not with any judgment, not with any like intention to like, oh, I have to change this, or I shouldn't feel this way. No judgment. Just ask yourself where you feel it, because that is the key to healing. I think, in my opinion, that's the key to healing. The mind-body connection is the key to healing, and you cannot overstate the importance of that connection. And that's the first step in reestablishing that connection, because we've just lost it as a society.
Agree. Completely agree. I've got a question for you, Melissa. So you shared quite a bit, and I know it's not the whole story. You had some pretty traumatic trauma experiences, right? We talk about little T, big T. Yours were a lot of the big T's. What about those with the little T's that just brush them under the rug? Are those going to create health issues too?
1,000%. I don't love, I know, Kira, you and I have talked a lot, so like I don't love the distinction little T, big T, because I feel like it does just that. It makes people think that the little T's are insignificant or unimportant, and it just is completely not the case. For definition, for sake of definition, I guess, like, I understand why we need to have those distinctions, but little T's are things like being broken up with, or having, losing a job, or something like that. And really, it all boils down to your allostatic load and your ability to cope with those stressors. So allostatic load is the impact on your body from stressors, not necessarily emotional stressors, can be physical stressors, toxins in your food, toxins in your air, toxins. So the impact that those stressors have on your body. We all have a threshold at which we can no longer sustain homeostasis and balance within our body. And whenever you surpass that threshold, you are going to have physical symptoms. So somebody who has, 1, 2, 5 little T traumas can have just as many physical and mental repercussions as somebody who has 1, 2, or 5 big T traumas.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction, because you're right. I'm the little T person, right? Like, a lot of times it was like, well, I just had these little things happen throughout my life. I didn't have this massive, terrible event that I've been a part of. And so it did get brushed under the rug. And I just thought, well, that's not contributing to my health issues. And it absolutely can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's so common. Like, so many people think that same thing, but really, like, if what I said before, like what Denise was just mentioning, like, if you don't deal with your issues, it rests in your tissues. It doesn't matter what it is. Something little can happen, can happen, and
it can throw you off.
Yeah, it can totally throw you off. And it's what your response is. Like, what is your perspective of that experience? The trauma is not the event itself, but it's your response to that event. So if something happens and then suddenly it threatens your safety, or your sense of like purpose, or your feeling of like, where do I fit in the world, or your sense of like having support from family or friends or something, like, if it threatens your safety or your identity, you are going to create this narrative in your head, and you're going to replay that over and over and over and over again if you don't deal with it. And it's going to ultimately manifest into physical symptoms.
Melissa, I'm loving all of the points that you're making, and I love, the body scan idea. So, let's say, yes, we do the body scan, and you do feel the emotion. Let's say in you here in my stomach or in my heart or wherever, in my toes. I don't know. What is the next step that you usually recommend after that?
Yeah, such a good question. I should have said that from the beginning. Yeah, now what? Um, the next step is just to like breathe into that area. So key point, uh awareness, recognizing it, identifying it, where, quality, quantity, if you can, and then not judging it is a huge piece. So no judgment. You're not allowed. I will not let you be mean to you. It's not happening on my watch. You just notice it, don't judge it, and just breathe into it. See if you can give that area just a little bit of love, just like, oh, okay, I'm feeling a little bit tight or chaotic. I used to have a lot of anxiety that would manifest in my abdomen, and it always felt very chaotic, like energy, like kind of moving around a lot, like a big tied up knot. Like, does it have a color? And then just trying to breathe into that area. Just breathe into your abdomen and just take some deep breaths and just repeat a mantra if you can, if you want, like I am safe or I love myself. That's maybe pushing it too far. I love myself is kind of a hard one to get to, but I
Or
think it's
maybe I love the area, like where I feel. Like, for
yeah,
example, like if someone is feeling a knot in their stomach, like, and if you want to send love to that,
yeah,
I love you, I'm here for you, etc.
yeah,
I love all this. I love all this. Such amazing, tangible advice that you can actually do like today if you feel
yeah,
whatever emotions you feel.
yeah.
Well,
And you can do it anywhere too. Like you can do it anywhere. You're at the grocery store, you're at, wherever. Just
yeah,
be in your body.
yeah, which is huge because you're right. So many of us don't do that. And it's been something that I've been working on. I've got one more question for you. I know that we know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it because sometimes our listeners don't. That's why they come to us, right? That's why they go to you. Um, if I have got trauma that needs to be worked through that's contributing to my health issues, can I just do the body scan and some meditation?
Oh boy, I wish it was that easy.
I love that question, Kira.
That's definitely a super important piece of it, doing the body scan, doing the meditation, reconnecting your mind and your body. But unfortunately, no, it's going to take a lot more work than that. Um, the my perspective is that my business is holistic health, so I'm always looking at the whole person. So like the somatic work, the nervous system regulation, that's all super important, but so is like self-care in other ways, like making sure you're feeding your body with good quality whole foods, making sure you're getting adequate sleep, adequate hydration, being kind to yourself, like learning to rewrite the narratives that you're telling yourself. Change your mindset, change the way you're speaking to yourself, because 99% of the people that I come in contact with have this horrible ability to be like super horrible. That's not what I mean to say. This horrible tendency to be really, really mean to themselves about even the smallest little things. Well, you shouldn't feel like that, and you shouldn't do that, or you seemed so stupid there. And like they would never speak to somebody else that way, but they're talking to themselves that way. Um, but really like
Absolutely.
approaching it from every perspective. You got to look at all of it. You got to do the deep introspective trauma recovery work with like journaling and somatic work and EMDR if you need it, and counseling, and but it's also so much more than that.
Yeah, I know, but I want to
And it's
ask
a
because
journey, just
sometimes
like what
people,
we always say, it's a journey and it's several
Right.
things. And just like with food, it might work with some people, it doesn't work for other people. Same thing with this, you got to do what works for you. And
trial and
yeah.
error.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and what makes you
100%.
truly happy and there for yourself. And I really love how you're putting it, Melissa. Like, I'm not going to allow you to be mean with yourself. Like, you're not mean to other people. You're kind, you're nice. And we always give the example of, if your best friend calls you asking for advice, you don't cuss her out and be like, why are you feeling this way? You're there for her. So sometimes we overly, judge ourselves and, label
Yeah.
our feelings and or not.
Yeah. And even just like learning to start recognizing that is a huge accomplishment. Like actually asking yourself how you're talking to yourself. Because I've had many clients where I've had conversations like this and I say like, how do you talk to yourself? And they're like, oh, I don't have any negative self-talk, And it's like as things come out, it's like, oh no, yeah, oh, I'm really terrible to myself. I didn't realize that. So
Yeah. Unconscious patterns.
yeah.
Well, how can people find you, Melissa?
My website is holistichealthbymelissa.com. And then my Instagram is Holistic Health by Melissa. Facebook is the same. I have a podcast, Holistic Health with Melissa.
Awesome. And this will all be in the show notes for you guys. I feel like this is just the start of a much deeper conversation, right? Like we could keep going on and on and on, but this would be
Yeah.
like a multi-day podcast. And maybe we need to come back and explore it from another angle. But this is a great first step for people to realize that trauma does create issues in the tissues.
100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you for this conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much for
having
joining
me.
us, Melissa.
Absolutely. It was an honor. Thank you.
All right, guys, you know the drill. We would love it if you subscribe to the podcast, shared it with people that need to hear it, and we will see you on the next episode.